In the year 1052, the city of Isfahan fell under the control of the Islamic Empire, and with it, medicine and science were declared illegal in Persia. Following this decision, many doctors were forced to leave their homes and set out in search of a new place. During this time, Dr. Rob was traveling on a ship with his pregnant wife, Rebecca, and his medical team heading toward England. As soon as land was sighted in the distance, the ship was filled with joy and everyone began to celebrate. But suddenly the weather changed and a terrible storm arrived. Strong winds and towering waves shook the ship violently, and the crew tried their best to keep it under control. Just then, Rebecca went into labor. Despite these dangerous conditions, Rob did not lose courage and delivered his wife's baby. Within moments, their child was born, but this happiness did not last long. The next moment, the ship crashed against the rocks and broke apart. At sunrise, the survivors regained consciousness on the shore and began searching for their companions and belongings. Fortunately, their medical book, containing all their knowledge, was safely saved. Rob saved his newborn child, but Rebecca was nowhere to be found. She had disappeared and was likely no longer alive. In the evening, everyone set up camp. Rob was in deep shock and insisted on waiting for Rebecca. But his friend Isaac tried to reason with him, saying that they needed to move forward. When Rob refused, Isaac angrily told him the truth. Rebecca was gone, and many people had already lost their lives because of Rob's stubbornness. Hearing this, Rob came to his senses and pulled himself together. Finally, the entire group decided to move on. After a long journey, they reached London, where the guards forced them to pay a heavy tax to enter the city and warned them that Jews and Muslims must leave before sunset. While walking through the city, Rob encountered a thief named Weasel, who was running away after committing a theft. Shortly after, Weasel was caught and his shoulder was dislocated. As Weasel writhed in pain, Rob helped him and easily fixed his shoulder. In return, Weasel agreed to take them to the medical guild. As Rob and his team walked through the city, they saw that the medical treatments there were extremely outdated and cruel. A madman who thought he was a dog came for treatment, but the royal doctor, Dr. Leafik, rejected him. Meanwhile, a crowd gathered in the town square, where 4 people were being sentenced to be burned alive for witchcraft. In reality, they were Celts, considered enemies of the Christian faith. As the fire was lit, the ropes burned and broke and they tried to escape, but soldiers surrounded them. Just then, Duff showed courage, snatched a sword, and fled with his companions. After this, Rob and Isaac met the royal doctors, Dr. Leafik and Hun, and tried to share their knowledge, but Hun flatly refused, saying that Jewish people were not allowed to practice medicine here. Soldiers escorted them out. In the evening, as Rob and his team were considering their next move, a girl named Rose came to help them. She took them to a hidden place where the same Celts who had escaped earlier were hiding. There, Duff's leg was severely infected, and he feared it might have to be amputated, but Rob carefully examined him and assured him that he could heal it. He applied medicine and began treatment. During this time, the Celts explained that their villages were in constant danger, and these killings had been happening since the king married his new queen. The queen repeatedly became pregnant, but her children never survived. And this was where the real mystery of the story began. After this, Morgan told Rob that he must let go of his grief and move forward. She spoke of soul pain, but Rob became angry and clearly stated that he only believed in real science, not these superstitions. Then Morgan held his hand and made him feel her heartbeat. She explained that the softness and emotions of the human heart were also part of healing. With his special ability, Rob sensed that Morgan did not have much time left to live, and Morgan already knew this, so she wanted to help Rob before she passed away. She mixed some special herbs, prepared a smoke, and told Rob to inhale it. Slowly, Rob entered a trance-like state. Morgan guided him through a ritual, and Rob began to see strange visions. He saw Death grabbing hold of his ship. He saw himself underwater with his child and Rebecca holding his hand. But suddenly, Death pulled him away. With this jolt, Rob opened his eyes and broke down inside. For the first time, he truly accepted Rebecca's death. Meanwhile, at the fort, Hun examined Queen Mercia and told her that she was going to have a son. But the reality was that there was a secret relationship between the two. The real king, King Canute, was so old that he could not be the father. But Mercia kept him drunk and unaware of the truth. Just then, Hun was summoned to Godwin's room, where his wife was in very critical condition. Hun managed to stabilize her for a short while, but clearly stated that she would not survive. In anger, Godwin grabbed Hun and begged him to do something, but Hun helplessly gave up. The next morning, soldiers were hunting and killing Celts, but Rob refused to send Duff away from his home. His companions reminded him that the medical guild did not allow them to work, but Rob decided to start his practice outside the city walls. Weasel showed them an old broken-down building, and they all began repairing it. Duff, after recovering a bit, also helped them. Gradually, a small clinic was set up, and a long line of patients began to form. Many people did not have money, but these doctors treated them without any greed. Rose brought clothes for the baby and started getting closer to Abu. One evening, Rob tried to write down Morgan's ritual in his medical book, but he could not remember everything clearly. Isaac was suspicious of these methods, but Rob explained that many ancient civilizations spoke of treating the soul. He used to not believe in these things himself, but now that he had seen their effect, he felt it was important to understand and learn these methods as well. Sometime later, Rob saw a boat by the river filled with people in strange conditions. A merchant told him that these were people whose souls had been taken by the devil, meaning they were considered mad and sent to the Caves of Mercy, from where no one ever returned. Meanwhile, Dr. Leafick was furious that most of his patients were now going to Rob. At first, Hun ignored it, but as soon as he learned that Rob was treating patients for free, he became alert. After this, Hun himself went to Rob's clinic, pretended to want to learn, and apologized. At that same moment, Godwin arrived with his critically ill wife, whose lungs had filled with water. Rob immediately performed surgery, making a small incision in the chest to drain the water, and saved her life. Hun was astonished to see this, but when Rob offered to work together, Hun only talked about buying his book, which Rob refused. At the fort, wealthy people kept complaining that too many men were dying in battles, but the bishop and Mercia called it a necessary step to eliminate the devil's companions. Just then, Godwin brought Rob to the court and claimed that he could cure the king. Mercia and Leafick opposed this, but Godwin reminded everyone that Rob had saved his wife's life, which turned the public in Rob's favor. Forced by the situation, Mercia took Rob to King Canute, who was kept in a dark room because it was said that sunlight harmed him. But after examining him, Rob told the truth. The king was not sick, but weakened due to lack of sunlight. As soon as Rob drew the curtains, sunlight filled the room, and Canute slowly began to feel better. Within a short time, he became completely healthy, returned to the court, and happily honored Rob. After the king recovered, a grand feast was held where everyone was happy, except Leafick, who feared that his conspiracy would be exposed. He argued with Hun and threatened to tell everything. After this, Hun met with Mercia and planned to remove Leafick. During the feast, King Canute made a big announcement. Rob would now be the royal doctor, and a large hospital would be built in London. But this happiness did not last long, because when Rob and his team returned home, they found Leafick's corpse, and this was where the story took a dangerous turn. Sometime later, King Canute took Rob and his wife to St. Peter's Convent, where his daughter, Princess Eileen, was being held captive. She had long been considered ill. When Rob tried to meet her, she hid in the darkness and suddenly attacked him. The nuns grabbed her and began an exorcism process, but Rob angrily stopped them, saying she was a human, not an animal. Later, Rob freed her, talked to her, and slowly tried to win her trust. Eileen believed she was possessed by the devil, but Rob explained that nothing of the sort was true. He looked at her drawings and tried to understand the fear hidden in them. When Rob showed the drawings to King Canute, he explained that one of them symbolized the Dance of Death, a play showing that death spared no one. But when Rob asked about a drawing of a man with horns on his head, Canute flatly refused to discuss the subject. That night, Mercia tried to get close to Canute, but he stopped her and warned that anyone who tried to harm him would be eliminated. Mercia realized that the danger had increased. At midnight, Mercia pretended to be in pain, and Hun was summoned. As soon as they were alone, they revealed their real plan. Hun brought a poisonous herb from the forest and quietly mixed it into the king's ointment so that Canute would become sick again and the truth would be buried forever. The next morning, Rob told Godwin and King Canute that he would put Princess Eileen into a trance-like state to find the hidden truth in her mind. Canute thought this was witchcraft, but Rob explained that this was also a method of healing. Inside the chamber, Rob performed the same ritual that Morgan had taught him. Slowly, Eileen entered a trance and began to see terrifying visions. Death, a king with a sword, and a woman surrounded by masked people. She repeatedly shuddered and said, "The devil is here." Rob tried to calm her down, but during this, King Canute's health suddenly deteriorated. Rob saw this through the window and wanted to run to help him, but the chamber door was locked. Canute looked at Mercia for the last time and realized that he had been poisoned. The next moment, he fell and died. In London, the bishop immediately incited the people, saying that Rob had killed the king and that he was allied with the Celts. An angry mob attacked the clinic, killed the doctors, and burned everything down. In the chaos, the camel broke its rope and ran away, and Abu quickly hid the child in his clothes. Isaac tried to save the book, but Hun wounded him and took the book. Duff blocked the way, Weasel cleverly tripped Hun and took the book back. But the army surrounded them, and Hun seized the book again. Rob and all his companions were captured and locked in iron cages. Standing in the distance, Rose watched helplessly. At the fort, the bishop announced that Mercia would now rule until her child was born. But people raised questions. When Eileen is alive, why is she not being brought forward? As pressure mounted, Mercia was forced to agree to bring proof. Godwin went to St. Peter's Convent to bring Eileen. As soon as she came out, Eileen happily began ringing the bells, as if feeling freedom for the first time. But just as she reached the edge of the balcony, Godwin paused for a moment and then suddenly pulled her back. When he returned to the fort, he lied to Mercia, saying that Eileen had killed herself. This news was spread throughout the court, and at that same moment, Mercia went into labor. Hours passed, but the child was not born. Finally, Rob was summoned. Rob laid down a strict condition: his friends and his child must be freed, and no harm should come to them. Hun reluctantly agreed. Rob asked him, "Did you poison the king at Mercia's command?" Hun tried to evade the question, but Rob placed another condition: Eileen must be handed over to him. With Godwin as witness, this promise was sealed. Rob examined Mercia and understood that to save her life, a dangerous C-section operation was necessary. After hours of hard work, a baby girl was finally born. But Mercia's hatred was still not over. She still wanted Rob dead. Meanwhile, Rose sneaked into the barracks, took the child from Abu, and hid. At the same time, Godwin freed Rob and his companions. He told them, "Find Eileen. She is the true heir to the throne." When the soldiers found the empty cages, a search began everywhere. Just then, General Haruknut came to scold Godwin. Godwin told him the truth. Mercia killed Canute, but Haruknut thought this was a lie and challenged Godwin to a duel. A fierce fight took place between them. Initially, Godwin gained the upper hand, but within moments, Haruknut killed him, and now the truth was once again buried. The king was dead, and the real fight was still to come. Sometime later, Abu told Rob that Rose was willing to spend all her money to arrange a ship to France. But Rob refused. He firmly said, "I have to find Princess Eileen. I have to help this country, so that Rebecca's death is not in vain." Hearing this, Weasel, Abu, and Duff also decided to go with him, while Rose stayed behind in a safe village with the child and the injured Isaac. At the fort, Mercia was officially made queen and presented her newborn child to everyone. Just then, General Haruknut received news of where Rob and his team were heading. Sometime later, Rob and his companions reached the Caves of Mercy. Outside, there was silence, but as soon as they went inside, mad people emerged from all sides. A woman was about to attack them, but Rob calmed her down. When asked about Eileen, she took them deeper into the cave, where a horrifying truth was revealed. People were eating human flesh. Suddenly, the woman bit Weasel on the shoulder and everyone panicked. The mad people began chasing them, but the team somehow managed to move forward. Finally, Rob found the man who thought he was a dog. He helped them and led them to Eileen. At first, Eileen threw stones at Rob, but as soon as she recognized him, she broke down and clung to him. The team brought her out into the sunlight, and slowly, her condition began to improve. Meanwhile, Haruknut and his soldiers reached the village, captured Rose, Isaac, and the child, and brought them to the fort. Mercia threatened them that if they did not tell Rob's whereabouts, she would kill the child. Isaac told her that Rob had gone to find the princess, but Mercia thought it was a joke because she believed Eileen was dead. Sometime later, Rob and his team reached a Celtic village, but found everything burned. Duff helped an elderly couple bury their dead son. Rob asked about Morgan and learned that she had left with the others, but when the people learned that Eileen was the real princess, they bowed before her. In London, Haruknut told Mercia that a rumor was spreading. The princess was alive and the Celts were preparing for battle alongside her. Mercia believed it was a lie, but Haruknut said that the people no longer saw her as queen. Angrily, Mercia set out to destroy this rumor herself. Meanwhile, Hun tried to understand Rob's book, but failed. He begged Mercia to spare Isaac's life so that Isaac could teach him, but Mercia called him weak and refused, ordering that the prisoners be executed the next day. That night, Hun secretly freed Isaac, Rose, and the child from the prison and left them outside the city. He returned the book and said, "Save this knowledge." Then he applied the poisonous ointment to himself and took his own life. Sometime later, Rob and his team reached a Celtic town where Eileen was warmly welcomed. Morgan was lying sick in bed, but Rob begged her to help heal Eileen. Morgan said to take her to the temple so she could pray to the goddess one last time. People carried her on a stretcher, but Morgan died on the way. After this, Eileen said to Rob, "You can heal me. We can do it together." The Celts helped Rob, and a special ritual began. During this ritual, Eileen remembered everything from her past. As a child, she was at her father's party where the Dance of Death was being performed. Just then, a mysterious friend took her to her mother, who was participating in a secret ritual. That friend urged Eileen to tell her father, King Canute, about it. When Eileen did so, an enraged Canute had her mother and everyone present killed. Eileen did not want to see any of this, but her friend forced her. Finally, she remembered that the friend was none other than Mercia, who had orchestrated the entire conspiracy. In the present, after the ritual, Eileen was healed. She explained that her mother was a Celt, and the ritual was a fertility ceremony to help the king have children. Mercia had lied and provoked King Canute, leading him to murder his own wife. Just then, Mercia attacked the Celtic town with her army. Flaming arrows flew through the sky, people began to die, and chaos erupted everywhere. Weasel was hit by an arrow, and Duff took him for treatment, where Abu was helping the wounded. When they removed Weasel's clothes, everyone was surprised. Weasel was actually a girl. In the midst of the battle, Eileen suddenly appeared with a sword and shield. Mercia ordered her soldiers to kill her, but no one stepped forward. Then Eileen exposed the truth in front of everyone, what Mercia had done to her family. She declared that she had come for peace and wanted to be queen of both Celts and Christians. Hearing her words, the crowd bowed before her. Even Haruknut and the bishop accepted her as the true queen. Seeing this, Mercia fell to her knees and began to cry. Eileen thought she might be repentant and went to her, but it was a trick. Suddenly, Mercia pulled out a knife, stabbed Eileen, and shouted that she had killed this half-blood. Just then, soldiers shot their arrows, and Mercia was killed on the spot. Rob immediately ran to Eileen, checked her pulse, and breathed a sigh of relief. Eileen was still alive. Sometime later, Eileen returned to London and was now officially the queen. People respected her, and even the camel happily reacted upon seeing her. Years later, Rob added a new chapter to his book, The Importance of Mental Health. When Eileen came to meet him, she told him that her marriage had been arranged to a king from the West to form a new alliance, but her heart desired something else. She held Rob's hand and emotionally said, "Thank you for saving my life." So friends, I hope you liked this video. If you liked the video, then like, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Till then, bye.